This is the Indy 11 Coaches Show, brought to you by your Central Indiana Ford dealers. Now, let's get an inside look at the players, tactics, and opponents with Indy 11 head coach Sean McCauley. Welcome back to the Indy 11 Coaches Show podcast, episode 3 of the 2025 season. I'm Ian Gilmore, and beside me, as always, Sean McCauley, head coach of the Boys in Blue. Again, this is brought to you by your Central Indiana Ford dealers. A lot to catch up on this month, Sean. I guess that's what kind of happens when we go on the road for the whole month of May and kind of forget that fans needed insight into everything as well. I kind of want to start with kind of, I think, a pressing question that is probably on a lot of people's minds to start, and it is, we've seen some of the highest highs so far this season in the last month or so. When you think about the Jägermeister Cup games, a really, really inspiring performance in Philadelphia as well. When you look at those and then kind of juxtapose those to, say, Hartford at home, giving up 4 goals to a team that had scored 5 in 8 games so far. What are kind of the differences you see when things are really good versus when things aren't, I guess?
I think you just have to keep a level head on all the stuff. When it's really good, you have to reflect and look at the positives and take away what we feel that we can improve on. Because in football, nothing's ever perfect. There's never a perfect performance. You can always improve at certain things. In terms of the others, like conceding goals that we've done this year, we've conceded a lot of goals. I've said to many people we need to improve defensively. I think we're one of the top 5 in scoring goals, and we're probably at number 1 in conceding. What we have to do then is reflect and look back on statistically, what are we doing wrong? And when I look at goals, every goal, usually comes from a shot. We're currently 9th in the league at giving up shots. So we give up, we're the 9th best team in the league at not letting the opponent have a shot at goal. So therefore you reflect and you go, well, we've probably been a little bit unlucky with a few of the goals that have gone in. I look at the goal, like you say, the 4th goal that Hartford scored with Deng. I think it's just a hit and hope. We can maybe say the goalkeeper can do a little bit more, but I think he's in not a bad position. I think it's just been one of them things where he shut his eyes, had the shot, and it's gone in the top corner from an angle that you very rarely see a goal going. And at that point, I do believe that we were probably more in control of that game than any other, and we've dropped 2 points at home. Same when we played against North Carolina, we conceded 2 goals at home when we were 2-0 up. We were a bit negative. We were a bit deep in our positioning, especially for the equalising goal, the free kick. We reflect on that and we look at the game and go, well, they didn't have many shots. We had more shots than them. We scored our 2 goals. And we have to then sort of build up now the confidence of the defensive group in terms of we defend as a team. And if we concede, we can't just put it down to the goalkeeper. It's all of us. But we've got to keep going down the road of things will turn, especially if the statistics say that we're not giving up many shots on goal. And what we need to do is, relay that confidence into the group, because sometimes noise of you've done this and you've done that overpowers the truth of what the actual defensive shape's been like. But we have been a little bit weak in certain moments of conceding goals, and that's something we need to put right.
You've talked about there's been no problem with scoring them. What has worked so well so far this season in terms of the success on that side of the field?
Well, we always want to play an attacking style of football. And our last win was a 1-0 win and we only scored 1 goal. I wish we'd have got another one. We had a couple of chances late on. But we did make a conscious effort of making sure that we had a good defensive structure while we were in possession of the ball. So we didn't want to open up too much in that game because, we were a little bit fragile of conceding goals. So if you look at that game statistically as well, you look at how many shots Birmingham had, I think probably 75% of them shots were from over 25 yards, which we all know very rarely produces a goal. So I was really pleased, and you look at the view at the end of the game, none of them chances really hurt us. And I was really pleased for Hunter to get a clean sheet. And he made a save right at the very last minute, which possibly was a good attempt at goal and could have gone in. And likewise, our situation at SAC Republic, you can see the late one, it would have killed us, it deflated us, but it's not. We're in a good mood with that result. And in terms of overall goal scoring, I think we're number 1 in we're definitely in the top 5 of every category of set play goals. So, that's another avenue that we know we can score goals from.
Yeah, you talk about the shot that Birmingham was taking. Watching that at home, there was a lot of times where we'll take that.
Yeah.
If they're shooting from that far out, you can be okay with that. Set play goals. That's something that, obviously being at training, I've seen you guys work on a decent amount this year. In the offseason, was that something that you were pretty conscious about, that you wanted to improve on that this year?
Yeah, and I feel, there is a trend that's shifting with set plays. A lot more of the corners now are played short. The high level teams are playing short corners in order to move the opponent, to get a better cross at the ball, to make, it be more deliberate on the timing of the run. But there's a balance of that, because the time of the game and the score in the game will determine which set play you do. If you're 3-0 up with 5 minutes to go, there's no point in sending everybody up. That's the knowledge of the players and the team plan that we'll give to the players. There is a trend now, the best international teams are playing long throws. So it's, back in the day, you're talking, 15 years ago, Stoke City would put a long throw in and everybody criticised it. Whereas now, Manchester City are doing it. Every team's using that as an opportunity to get the ball in the box, get some sort of second phase play and try and get an attempt at goal. So we've made a conscious effort of working harder on them. And we have, like I said, become one of the top teams in the league at executing them.
Yeah, Moose has been trying to pull off his best Rory Delap impression, right?
Yeah.
The 1-0 at Birmingham, Cam Lindley scores in the first 5 minutes. As a guy who has kind of had to wait for his starting chance this year, I kind of want to talk to you about kind of that environment, because it seems to me that you have a really good group coming off the bench, not only in terms of what they can bring into the game, but kind of just their attitude during the week. How have you curated that this season?
It's tough, because you've got to have relationships with all the players to make sure that they're all bought in, and you've got to make decisions. And if somebody doesn't buy into that culture, then you have to move them on, and that's the nature of the beast. There will be no, while I'm here, made it very clear, there'll be no individual that's bigger than the club, and the club will be the sole focus of what we're all trying to achieve, and that's everybody, when they get the opportunity, going on the field and trying to win a game. And Cam's waited for his chance, got his chance, but he played really well. He got the goal, but he played really well as well. And then at the end, he was, struggling a little bit with match fitness, so we replaced him, and Brem came on, and so we're starting to get a little bit healthier in terms of that of like squad rotation and squad depth. But every player that knows that when they get the chance, they've got to take it. And again, that's another modern thing of football. You see every game now, what you would watch on television, the majority are changing at 60 minutes because the physical demands of the game, no matter what level you're playing at, it's always improving. So that's another aspect of performance that the players are aware of, that there will be people that play, minutes based on, what we feel the team needs at that time in the game.
In that game too, you started James Murphy, Aiden Quinn, Cam Lindley, Jack Blake, all guys. With Jack, it might be a bit of a stretch, but all guys you could kind of quantify as a central midfielder-ish. Why did you think that all 4 of them could work together well?
We had a decision to make because Malik Foster, had a slight hamstring strain, and we didn't want to risk it. So then it was putting somebody on the field, and I already said to Cam, listen, you'll get your chance, and I've been telling him for a few weeks. I just thought it was a right time to put Cam in the field, knowing their environment, their pitch is huge. It runs really quick, so you need to keep possession of the ball. I thought first 20 minutes we were excellent with possession of the ball, and Cam played a huge part in that. But it was more out of need because Malik wasn't ready. And that brings, it round to, style of play and system of play. When you're working with a group of players that hasn't got we've got strength in depth, I understand that, but the numbers, you're not replacing 1 for 1. So you might have to go from a midfield 3 to a midfield 4. You might have to go from, a back 3 to a back 4, a front 2 to a front 3. And that has to happen, and the players have to have knowledge of that. And it has to happen because, like I said, we don't we don't have the, riches of the other leagues. I'd say that's across the board in the USL. So you have to be flexible in your style of play and your system of play.
When you kind of look at the situation we've kind of found ourselves in terms of the games in hand, when you're 2 games in hand on a few teams, 1 game in hand on a lot of teams, you look at the table and it's kind of unfortunate because we are behind in the games. You look at games in hand, you win both of them, you're level on points with 5th, and bang, you're fighting for a home playoff spot again. Obviously, I'm sure there's some guys that don't, but there's probably some guys that are looking at that a decent amount. How do you keep their focus on kind of 1 game at a time and controlling what you can control?
That's exactly that. We will take 1 game at a time. In an ideal position, I wouldn't like to have games in hand.
But I guess how do you make sure that mentality is passed on to
just
players?
Through training, through meetings, through information that we give to the players, not to overly focus on certain outside influences that we can't control. So yeah, in an ideal world, we would have played the games and we'd have got the points. And if we don't have the points, we know what we need to do to catch them up. Whereas now, I don't want the feeling of, we'll be okay because if we win them 2, it's difficult to win 2 games in a row. Mm-hmm. So we'll just keep plodding along on the 1 game at a time, and we'll have to go that way, I think, through to the end of the season, because I think there's other weekends when we don't play and other teams play.
Yeah, and everyone else can do the screaming and shouting.
Yeah.
We talked about Reese this week for a bit of a long form piece that hopefully people will enjoy here in the coming weeks. He's definitely an infectious personality. And I think people see that on social media and all that stuff. But what has he brought internally to the group as a whole, but especially the goalkeeper room?
But he's a good player. That's the first thing. He's a good player and he's a good character. And when asked to perform, he can perform. So that's the first thing. He understands his role, which is another great thing for us, as in, he's in a supporting position. And when he does support, he doesn't just support Hunter, he supports the academy kids as well. And anybody that comes through the door, he's there. He's the first port of call where he'll try and help people settle in. So a really good, strong character, and like an infectious personality. He's like he's an energizer, not an energy sapper, and that's something that you need through a long season.
The other player who's had a really good last month and a half is Elvis Amo. I'm wondering, with kind of the run he has been on / is on. 8 goals, and I think it's 9 games now. Can you smell that when that starts? Like when he scores those goals against Madison, does that feel like he's got 3 in 2 games now? Can he keep doing this?
I think every striker likes to get on a streak. That's for sure. And fortunately for him, he got the chance to play again after Romario scores 2 goals, then he has to go away on international duty. So it's important that you keep that confidence within the player and within the team, and I do think that we know that if chances are dropping in around the box, he's got really good technique, and he generally finds himself in the right position. So judging at the timing of his decision making and his technique, he's generally got a good chance of scoring, and we all know that, and we just got to keep it going.
Yeah, you can definitely, even in training, you can see his level of finishing. I think they were playing knockout yesterday, and he won. And I think Murph said something along the lines of like, "That's the right winner. Like that's the deserved winner," because everyone else sees it. It's a similar question, but kind of the same thing. Like as a spectator, sometimes you watch a guy that's on a streak, and like you just like he can't be stopped. Is that like kind of what you feel as well, or?
Out of respect for the opponent, you've got to.
He can't be stopped.
Understand that it's going to be tough, and it makes it sound as if it's easy, and it's not. And Elvis, works at his game incredibly hard. So he works at his game to be able to take the chances that he gets, and so yeah, it's not something that you can take for granted. Like we just go in, he's on a streak or a hot hand, as they say in other sports. We've got to make sure that he keeps the work rate up and the effort towards improving his game, and then when he gets his chances, he keeps taking them. And and it's likewise on the other end, the defensive side of it. We need a little bit of luck on that as well, because going back to it, like I said, if we're 9th from top in conceding chances, but yet we're the worst in things, there might be a little bit of luck that's in there that we've not had yet.
Yeah. Touching on that, there's definitely like luck that has come from, or that has led to the goals. When you look at kind of the goalkeeping department and having Reese come in to kind of give Hunter a little bit of time off, looking at the goalkeeper situation right now, how do you kind of think you'll handle that moving forward?
As we've done all season, through communication, and that's the beauty of having Reese as a more experienced goalkeeper. He knows when his time will come, he'll have to take it, and we'll play it from there. That everybody will get the chance if it benefits the team to help win a game. So at this moment in time, Hunter got back in, kept a clean sheet through the support of, I would say, Reese as well, and we have to now go with that towards the end of the season. And going back to looking, there was many times last season when, as you know, and we were sat here and I'm saying we were a bit lucky at the weekend. We were a bit lucky. So you can get luck on the other side, and we've had it. So it's not me saying, we've been unlucky and looking for some sort of sympathy. I'll mention that we're lucky when we win games, and I did that last year. And I'm saying that luck plays a part in every aspect of sport, because it just does. But you can reduce that element of luck by making sure that all the other aspects of performance are managed and dealt with and practiced and trained and communicated, and hopefully things will turn for us.
And you've said multiple times already this season that usually those things balance themselves out, through a season. So hopefully we do see that, down the road. I wanted to ask you kind of about seeing games out in different senses. In Madison, it was 0-0 after about 65 minutes. You win 4-0. In Knoxville, Elvis scores that great goal, and then you see out a 1-0 win. Do you feel like kind of the experiences you've gone through already this season, because there's been such a wide range of them, you're kind of prepared for just about anything the rest of the way this year?
I think so, and that's credit to the group. I think the group need some credit on that, knowing that, when it was time to push. We were really, really disappointed at half-time at Madison, I remember. The players were absolutely gutted at half-time, because they feel as though they've not taken an opportunity to get up in the game. So they went out in the second half and, did the job that they needed to do for the 90 minutes. So having all the different, aspects of, what a game can throw at you, through this early part of the season. We're only a third in of the league games. Will be good for us down the stretch. But I do think that going back to each game on its own merit, game by game, things can turn really quickly on both sides. So we just need to make sure that, we've been through the adversity of going up and conceding to tie games. We've only lost 3 games this season. So it's, it's perspective at the 14 that we played. So we've been through quite a lot, but we need to make sure that we take each game as it comes and use that as an experience for whatever throws at us.
One of the unfortunate things that has happened in the last month or so is Aiden Stanley and his ACL. I guess just first, Finn kind of filling in that position in the last few games. How do you feel he's done doing that?
Yeah, he's done great. Finn's a player that can cover left back, can cover centre back, probably a centre back by trade that can cover left back. Now he's playing left wing back, which he's done before for Minnesota United. So we knew he was a good, sort of cover for Aiden. And now it's his opportunity to take the chance. And every young player, every backup, as you want to call them, or cover player, or however you want to call it, has to turn themselves into what they call a starter. That doesn't really happen so much in my world of the growing up in European football. As soon as your name goes on the board, you're a player for the first team. You might never play for the first team, but you're available to play. Over here we do have, and I think it's probably through the MLS's original structure and maybe the other sports, like basketball, you have your starters, and in ice hockey you have different lines. That you have these starters and cover players, and they do that in the MLS because of salary cap. But eventually them young players who get drafted, like Darlington Nagbe, they become players that are the best in the league. And you look at the other one that got drafted at Minnesota United when I was there was Hassani Dotson, and they're knocking on the door of the international teams. So in relation to Finn, he came in as a cover player, and it's reflective that Aiden Stanley, if he was fit, would probably play. But it's his time to shine, and it's his time to say, well, I want to play, and I want to be the player that's the starting player. If he does it, then great, you know, because it's something that, you know, is credit to him. And if he struggles a little bit, which we've got to expect because of what we originally signed him for was to cover for a certain amount of games. Now we're asking him to cover for near enough, just over 2/3 of the season. That wasn't in the plan to start with, but he's got to take his chance, and he has done, so credit to him.
It'll be about, if my math is right, about 45 days between home weekend games from the Detroit one to the one coming up at the weekend. I guess has it been a bit of a difficult road stretch? I know you had the Wednesday game at home, but it's still been a long time on the road.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. You know,
I'm talking off the field.
Yeah. I was going to say, you know, you go into these hotels, it's the same food. The travel, as we all know, in the USL can be tough, you know, with connecting flights and everything else. But the players have responded well to it. You know, we've stuck together as a group, and we'll continue to do that. Now we're at home, we've got to make sure that we take advantage and get some more points on the board at home.
We've had kind of crappy weather at home so far, so hopefully these 5 in a row will be a bit more sunny. And I guess just you know, your thoughts and memories from last year when, you know, some of the best crowds throughout the summer. Hopefully we get those again. What are your kind of just thoughts and memories from your first year at the mic when it was packed?
Memories are that, you know, that we do have a really good atmosphere at home. And we had a similar situation at Portland Timbers. The opponent also, you know, you go to some of these games and the atmosphere when we play away from home, like your Birmingham and all that, and this is no disrespect to anybody who's supporting any of the other teams, but ours is probably a little bit more intense, which gives sometimes the opponent a lift because it's like a proper game. You get up for it. It's the same when, you know, when I was playing, I would look forward to the games, you know, that had big crowds like Celtic, Rangers, and, you know, you're playing in front of 50,000. It gives you a bit more, and we need to embrace the support that we have. And my memory is that they get right behind the team, and they are doing everything they possibly can to stop the team from playing well. So we need to embrace that, and that's the memory I've got from last season. So hopefully we can continue that. My thoughts are stick with us, you know, because there's going to be times when we struggle, and I've always said across, you know, every conversation that I've had with all the supporters, supporting the team when they're winning is great, and, you know, we really appreciate and accept that. What we need the support for is when we're not winning and we're not playing well, and that's when, you know, we'll be different to everybody else in the league. Our supporters will be different to everybody else in the league because we'll still support and get us through the bad times.
Any other thoughts on the past month and a half or the upcoming stretch here?
No, it's just, like I said, I wish we'd have, you know, if you're looking at it, Elliot Collier has a chance in the last minute against Philly. I wish we'd have taken that because that would have been a great feather in the cap for the club and the supporters. The referee makes some sort of silly decision on Eddie for the challenge. We didn't know whether it was a challenge or an handball or because he played advantage. And that cost us 2 points. I wish we'd have been better against Hartford. You know, we came out and immediately got an equaliser. And I'm thinking then that's going to be all right. We're going
Seems how it works.
Yeah, and we're going to be home and dry a little bit, sort of thing. But we didn't. We went through that adversity and again clawed his way back into scrambling something out of the game. So all of them, a few more points would have been nice, and then another round of the Open Cup. But we are where we're at, and we'll have to next month. I think we've got another game in the Jägermeister Cup. We need to take care of business there and obviously get some points in the league.
Yeah, and I mean, I can second some of those things too. Well, it's like, you know, being around training all the time, you can see that the attitudes are good and the spirits are high. So I think that's a good thing that people can take some solace from as well. So, third episode. Thank you, Sean. This has been the Indy 11 Coaches Show podcast presented by your Central Indiana Ford dealers. As always, you can watch on YouTube or listen wherever you get your podcast. Head to shop.indy11.com to get your latest merch, and we will see you next time.
This is the Indy 11 Coaches Show, brought to you by your Central Indiana Ford dealers. Be sure to like and follow this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you're listening. To watch the video version of this podcast, subscribe to the Indy 11 YouTube channel.